Welcome to the Daily AI News, brought to you by the Day After AI News channel.
Good to be here.
So our mission today, and it's a big one, is to try and make sense of, well, a really frantic week.
Yeah, frantic is the word for it.
Because on one hand, you have software capabilities just skyrocketing. I mean, going completely vertical. But then the hardware, the actual physical stuff you need to run it, has just slammed into a brick wall.
It's the classic irresistible force meeting the immovable object, for real. We're seeing this tension play out in, real time.
Absolutely. So we've got this heavyweight showdown between Anthropic and OpenAI.
Then you've got gamers who literally can't buy a console because data centers are hoarding all the memory.
And a domain name sells for an amount of money that is just staggering. We'll get to that.
And we have to talk about why New York wants to ban new data centers and why your internet provider might be training an AI on your emails.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start with the model wars. It felt, like you said, like a tennis match this week. Anthropic serves first with Claude Opus 4.6.
Right. And Opus 4.6 is significant. If you just look at the benchmarks, particularly for knowledge work and what they call agentic search, it's the smartest model out there right now.
The new king of the hill for reasoning.
For reasoning, yes. But, and this is a big but, it comes with a catch.
Okay.
It's heavy, it's expensive to run, and the latency is high. It's like a thinker, not a sprinter.
But then, and I mean literally minutes after that announcement.
Which feels very targeted.
Very targeted. OpenAI drops a countermove.
GPT 5.3 Codex. And this isn't just a small version bump. The real story here isn't just what it can do, it's how they built it.
I was reading the release notes, and this phrase just jumped out at me. Recursive self-improvement. They're saying the model debugged itself.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through that? Because that sounds like science fiction.
It's sort of the singularity concept in miniature. The Codex team, they used early versions of the model to debug its own training data, to manage its own deployment pipeline.
So the AI is acting as its own QA engineer.
A very, very good one. It's finding errors in the training set that human engineers missed. It's optimizing its own brain before it's even fully released.
Wow.
And the results speak for themselves. It scored 56.8% on the SWE-bench Verified.
Which, for context, is the gold standard for autonomous coding, right?
It is. We're not talking about just writing a little Python script. We're talking about an AI autonomously solving real-world issues on GitHub. When a model can improve its own code, human oversight starts to look less like a safeguard and more like a bottleneck.
That's the inflection point everyone's been talking about. So usually when the big players clash like this, open source gets left in the dust for a while. Is that still what's happening?
Not really. The gap is closing much, much faster. This week we saw Step 3.5 Flash released. It's a mixture of experts model.
Okay, break that down for us. Mixture of experts.
So instead of one giant monolithic neural network that has to power up for every single question, which is super expensive,
right?
You have a collection of smaller specialized networks. The experts. The model is smart enough to only activate the experts it needs for your specific prompt.
Those more efficient.
Incredibly efficient. And it's matching the top-tier closed models on reasoning tasks.
And then on the, I guess, the more fun side of open source, we had MiniCPM 4.5. People are calling it omnimodal.
It's very impressive. It handles voice, video, text all at the same time. But the real party trick is the voice shifting.
I saw a demo of this.
Yeah, you can just ask it to sound like Elon Musk or Samantha from the movie Her, and it just switches instantly. It shows that this kind of multimodal interaction is becoming the baseline, even for models you can run on your own machine.
Speaking of voice, that brings us to what you call the speed of sound. Mistral's new thing, Voxtral Transcribe 2.
Right.
I've seen the hype about the latency numbers, but does a few hundred milliseconds really make that much of a difference?
Oh, it makes all the difference if you want a conversation to feel human. For so long, we've been stuck at this 500 millisecond lag. It feels like a walkie-talkie.
You talk, you pause, you wait.
Exactly. Voxtral gets that down to sub 200 milliseconds.
And that's the magic number for natural interruption, isn't it?
That's the threshold. It allows for barge-in, where you can cut the AI off mid-sentence, and it just reacts instantly.
Okay.
Plus, it has speaker diarization, which means it knows who's talking in a group. So you combine that instant reaction time with tracking multiple speakers. You're not just talking about transcription anymore. You're talking about a voice agent that could actually participate in a meeting.
Okay, so the software is just, it's incredible. It's faster, smarter, it's debugging itself. But this is where we hit that immovable object.
The hardware.
We just don't have enough of it to run all this stuff. I saw this story in Linux Weekly News. The new Steam machine and Steam frame are delayed.
And this is the collateral damage of the AI gold rush. Valve, all these consumer electronics companies, they are in a fight for parts that they just cannot win.
And a bidding war for memory chips.
It's not a war, it's a massacre. The data centers have infinitely deeper pockets. They are swallowing the entire supply chain for high bandwidth memory. So if you're a gamer waiting for that new console...
I'm waiting because a data center somewhere just bought the part I needed.
Exactly. They need that VRAM to run GPT 5.3.
And it's not just the chips running out, it's the actual power.
Yeah.
This story from New York is pretty startling. They're proposing a moratorium on new data centers.
It's New York and now 5 other states. They're pushing for a 3-year pause. And this isn't just, some environmental posturing. I mean,
Right.
over 230 environmental groups are backing it. But the core issue is grid stability. These data centers are just monumental energy hogs.
So you have this direct clash between the economic boom narrative. I mean, look at a stock like Supermicro, up 123%.
Right.
And the physical reality of the power grid just not being able to handle it.
That's the core tension of 2026. The stock market is pricing in infinite growth, assuming we can just keep building data centers forever. But you can't build one if the utility company tells you, sorry, we don't have any more megawatts for you. We're hitting hard physical limits.
And when resources get tight, companies get creative or aggressive. Which brings us to Starlink. They updated their privacy policy back on January 15th, and it feels like a big deal.
It's a huge deal. The new policy says, very explicitly, that Starlink can use customer data to train Elon Musk's XAI.
And that includes communication data.
It does.
So just so I'm clear,
Yeah.
if I'm using Starlink for my internet out in the middle of nowhere, my web browsing, my data, that's potentially training Grok.
That's what the policy allows for. And you have to see this in the context of the bigger corporate moves. SpaceX is talking about merging with XAI before a huge IPO.
So they're turning the internet pipe into a data hose for the AI model.
They are. You're not just a customer paying for a service anymore. You're also a data point. And for a lot of Starlink users, they have no other choice for high-speed internet. So it raises these really big questions about what consent even means in that situation.
Let's shift gears a little to the economy of code. We've talked about models writing code, but there's this cultural change happening that people are calling vibe coding.
Vibe coding. Yeah, it sounds cool and relaxed, but the implications are actually pretty stressful for the open source world.
So what is it?
It's the idea that you let an AI generate 90% of your code, and your job is just to sort of vibe check it. Does it look right? Does it run?
Okay, I can see the appeal. But I saw a European study suggesting this is basically starving the open source projects that the AIs learned from in the first place.
It's a classic tragedy of the commons. These AIs were all trained on open source code and documentation, but vibe coders, they don't read the docs. They just ask the AI for the answer.
Right.
So traffic to the documentation for something like Tailwind CSS, a massive project, is down 40%.
40%. That's huge.
It is, and here's the dangerous part. If no one visits the docs, the project loses sponsorships, it loses funding, the project dies or stops getting updated.
And then the AI has nothing new to learn from.
Exactly. It starts training on its own AI-generated code or just old code. That's a phenomenon we call model collapse. The whole ecosystem needs fresh human input to stay healthy, and AI convenience is killing the incentive for that input.
So efficiency is killing the community.
Yeah.
But speaking of efficiency, companies are desperately trying to survive this hardware crunch. IBM was talking about prompt caching this week.
Right.
It sounds super technical, but it's really a cost-saving measure, isn't it?
It's a survival mechanism. Think of an LLM like a student taking an open book test. Without caching, every time you ask a question about a 50-page document, that student has to reread the entire document from page 1.
Which takes time and compute power.
And money, a lot of it. Prompt caching is basically like letting the student keep their notes open. It caches the heavy lifting, the key context, so the model remembers it without having to reread everything every single time. It cuts latency and cost, which is essential for businesses right now.
So we're optimizing the machines, but what about the humans? I saw this interesting paper from the Humanist Lab about the agentic project manager.
Yeah, this really follows on from that whole vibe coding trend. If the AI is writing the code, and now even debugging the code, what is the human engineer's job?
Right. What's left to do?
This research suggests the role evolves into something like a junior project manager. You're not writing syntax anymore. You're managing a team of AI agents.
So you're not a coder, you're a manager of robotic interns.
That's a good way to put it. And that requires a totally different skill set. It's about strategy, defining requirements, orchestration. The paper basically argues we need to stop teaching people syntax and start teaching them systems thinking.
That's a huge shift. All right, let's look at where all this is hitting the ground. The good, the bad, and the weird. Let's start with the good. The Olympics.
Milano Cortina 2026. Google Cloud has a partnership with Team USA Ski and Snowboard, and this is just a really cool use of computer vision.
Instead of the motion capture suits.
Exactly. No more labs with ping pong balls all over you. They can use regular smartphone footage, and the AI can extract all the skeletal data and biomechanics right from the video. It makes elite-level coaching accessible to way more people.
I like that. And then in healthcare, there's Ledger Run. Not as flashy, but it seems really important.
It's the plumbing. They're using AI to automate payments for clinical trials. It sounds boring, but slow payments are a major reason why clinical trial sites shut down. If AI can keep the money flowing, it keeps crucial research going.
And Chariot AI in India.
They're working on that robotic voice problem we were talking about. They're building speech models that are specifically designed for empathy and tone. So think about an emergency broadcast during a cyclone. You don't want a cheerful robotic voice, you need urgency. Or for a suicide prevention hotline, you need empathy. Chariot is optimizing for emotional resonance, not just for, accuracy.
That's a critical distinction.
Oh.
Okay, now for the bad. Politics.
It was unavoidable, really. We saw a really high-profile case of AI-generated harassment. Donald Trump posted a video that used AI to depict the Obamas in a dehumanizing way and then refused to apologize for it.
It just shows the tools are out there.
The tools are out there and the guardrails can be bypassed, and we're seeing different countries try to deal with this in very different ways.
Right. Malaysia is taking a very different approach than the U.S.
A much more heavy-handed approach. They're implementing a strict licensing system for AI. They're not just looking at deepfakes, but targeting anything deemed grossly offensive, and especially child sexual abuse material. It's a stark contrast to the sort of wait-and-see style in the U.S.
That's going to be a messy global patchwork for a long time. All right, let's get to the weird, this BBC report on deaf bots.
This is the digital afterlife industry. Apparently, it's worth over 100 billion pounds.
100 billion?
Yeah.
And the idea is what? Training an AI on someone's texts and emails after they die.
Exactly. To create an interactive avatar you can talk to.
I can see the appeal, that desire for comfort, but the execution sounds glitchy.
Glitchy is a kind way to put it. The researchers found these bots often hallucinate. One of them created a bot of herself to test it, and the bot started speaking with an Australian accent.
Reef chuckle. Australian accent. That's absurd.
It's funny in a lab, but imagine you're grieving and you talk to a digital version of your late spouse, and they suddenly say something they never would have or have a totally different accent. It just mangles the memory.
It raises a really deep ethical question.
It does. Do you have a right to your own personality after you die, or can anyone with your data just reconstruct a puppet of you?
That is deeply unsettling. And speaking of puppets and money, we have to mention the domain sale.
AI.com.
It sold for
$70 million, paid in crypto.
$70 million. For 2 letters and a dot.
It was bought by Chris Marszalek from Crypto.com, and he says it's for an agentic AI platform, but really this is just a signal. It shows that despite the hardware shortages, the energy crisis, the ethical messes, there is still so much frothy capital in this market that someone will drop $70 million on a URL.
It's a statement.
It's a massive statement.
So let's try to pull this all together. We have robots that can skateboard now, the Unitree G1. We have software that debugs itself, but at the same time, we're fighting over the last scraps of RAM and electricity.
It's a complete dichotomy, and I think Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, he framed it perfectly this week. While the stock market is partying like it's 1999, he's warning about catastrophic risks. He described these near-future AIs as a country of geniuses in a data center.
That's a haunting phrase. A country of geniuses.
Locked in a server rack. And if that capability is real, and everything we're seeing suggests it is, it disrupts everything. Labor, the economy, security. The big story of 2026 is going to be about containment. Can the physical world constrain this digital intelligence? Or does the country of geniuses break out?
So for everyone listening, maybe the takeaway is, don't just watch the cool demos. Watch the energy bills. Watch the chip supply. That's where the real story is playing out.
Absolutely.
So I want to leave you with a final question today, thinking about those death bots. If the technology were perfect, I mean truly perfect, no glitches, no Australian accents, would you want an AI to continue your conversations after you're gone? Or does your voice belong to the silence?
I think I'm team silence on that one.
I think I'm with you. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll be back tomorrow.
Before you go, please subscribe to the podcast Prime. And if you enjoyed today's episode, hit like to support us. Thanks for listening and see you next time.